In 1999, Richard Anthony Jones was convicted of a felony even though he had a strong alibi. He spent 17 years in prison until authorities found his doppelganger living in the same town with the same first name. This is a photo of mobsters hiding their faces from the media during Al Capone's trial in 1931. In 2014, a man from Queens, New York spent 5 months in prison, unaware that his bail was only $2. In the year 2000, 6-year-old Dedrick Owens brought a gun to school and shot and killed 6-year-old Kayla Rowland after she refused to kiss him. Because of his age, he couldn't be legally prosecuted, and he remains the youngest school shooter to date. In 2013, 8-year-old Gabriel Fernandez was brutally murdered by his mother and her boyfriend after he failed to clean his room. In the 8 months prior, he was subject to horrific torture, which included regular beatings, being shot in the face with a BB gun, and being pepper sprayed. Just a few days before he was murdered, he wrote a card to his mom telling her all the things that he loved about her. Before Ohio man Terry Thompson, he released 50 of his exotic animals into the wild. This resulted in 48 of them being shot dead by authorities who feared that they would attack the public. Just minutes after this photo was taken, this heroic puppy died from the venom of the cobra he killed. Though he was in pain from the venom, he smiled knowing that he prevented the dangerous snake from entering his family's home. In 2012, a Jesus statue in India had water mysteriously dripping from its toes. Worshippers flocked from all over to collect and sometimes drink this miracle water. But soon enough, the source of the water was found to be a clogged toilet near the statue. After the Tiananmen Square massacre, the Chinese government sent bills to the families of the protesters for the cost of the bullets used to kill their loved ones. Over the last 10 years, about 10 Americans have been accidentally shot by dogs. 5 of them happened in Florida. Jeremy Rodale was a longevity expert who popularized the term organic food. While filming an interview for the Dick Cavett Show, he declared, "I've decided to live to be 100 and I've never felt better in my life." But minutes later, Rodale died of a heart attack while still being filmed. In December of 1980, a 19-year-old girl from Minnesota was involved in a car accident in sub-zero temperatures. After the crash, her car wouldn't start, so she walked towards a friend's house who lived 2 miles away. When she was just 15 feet from her friend's front door, she collapsed. That night, temperatures dropped to negative 30 degrees Celsius, and no one was around to help her. 6 hours later, she was discovered frozen solid. She was immediately transported to a nearby hospital, but her skin was too hard to even pierce with a needle. Amazingly, she was still alive, but her pulse was only measured at 12 beats per minute. Hoping for a miracle, doctors wrapped her in a heated blanket, and 2 hours later, she regained consciousness. After 49 days in the hospital, she completely recovered and suffered no permanent damage to any part of her body. In 2010, the body of Argentinian model Joana Casas was found just before her 20th birthday. She had been shot twice in the head and was left in a field. Her former boyfriend was soon convicted of the murder and sentenced to 13 years in prison. 3 years later, while still in prison, the man ended up falling in love with Joanna's twin sister Edith. Despite her parents intervening, Edith went on to marry her twin sister's murderer. In 2008, a Kansas man named Corey McFerrin called 911 claiming there was something wrong with his girlfriend. When authorities arrived, they were horrified to find that his 35-year-old girlfriend had been sitting on the toilet for at least 2 years. Her skin had grown around the toilet seat and had to be surgically removed at the hospital. Her boyfriend claimed that because of her troubled childhood, she felt safe in the bathroom and never left. These are what the vestigial limbs of a beluga whale look like. When sailors first explored the Arctic waters, they understandably mistook beluga whales for real-life mermaids. These are what the muscles look like on a fully grown male Siberian tiger. This rare orchid, known as the flower of the Holy Spirit, only blooms once per year. It looks like a group of praying saints before blooming, but once it blooms, it turns into a flying dove. In the 1920s, not much was known about the effects of radium, so when a group of women were paid to use glow-in-the-dark radioactive paint, they were told that it was completely harmless. But after years of licking the tips of their paintbrushes while using this radium-based paint, the devastating effects eventually became obvious. Many of these women developed a condition known as radium jaw, which caused horrible tumors around the mouth, and some of their jaws would literally fall off. The ancient Romans would often substitute criminals into plays for punishment. So if a character died in the story, a real criminal would die on stage. The ancient Aztecs built swords out of obsidian, which is said to be 50 times sharper than surgical steel. These swords were apparently sharp enough to decapitate not only a human with one strike, but also a horse. While Jim Jones tried to convince his members that he saved them from a concentration camp, most survivors compared Jonestown to a war prison. Each day, adults had to work at least 12 hours in scorching heat and were given very little water. The grounds were also constantly patrolled by armed guards so that no one could leave. Congressman Leo Ryan is the only member of the U.S. Congress to ever be killed in the line of duty. He was assassinated while investigating the Jonestown cult and helping some members escape. About 300 of the victims were infants and children. They were either force-fed or injected with cyanide, and their screams can be clearly heard in the Jonestown death tapes. One elderly member was taking a nap while everyone else was committing the largest massacre in modern history. She woke up to more than 900 dead bodies scattered around her. It's said that Hitler's worst enemies were kept at Mauthausen concentration camp, where prisoners were forced to carry 100-pound stones up this structure known as the Stairs of Death. Exhausted prisoners would often collapse and drop their loads, creating a horrific domino effect. In the 1980s, a family owned a ceramic factory in California, but it was uncovered as an illegal crematorium when a passerby recognized the smell of burning bodies from his time at Auschwitz. SS leader Heinrich Himmler ordered for the construction of the gas chambers when he was concerned about what psychological impacts that shooting people would leave on his men. During World War II, future President Dwight Eisenhower predicted that people would try to deny that the Holocaust ever happened. So he ordered his men to take as many graphic photos as possible to prevent this from happening. In 2015, a woman from Florida was being held hostage by her boyfriend, but luckily she convinced him to let her order a pizza using the Pizza Hut app. In the space for special requests, she wrote, "Please help, get 911 to me." Police soon arrived at the location and the abusive boyfriend was arrested. When he was 17 years old, Ozzy Osbourne was arrested for stealing women's underwear. But his father refused to pay the fine and Ozzy spent 6 weeks in jail. He later called it one of the best lessons of his life. 2 thieves once broke into a man's home in England and stole his laptop. But in his files they found some serious child abuse material and brought the laptop to police. The pedophile got 3 years in jail and the burglars served 12 months of community service. This woman's husband and son died in a car crash while driving home from an Italian soccer match. She was invited to the next game to discover that all the players and staff were wearing shirts to honor them. In 2017, a 9 weeks pregnant Brazilian woman suffered a stroke and was declared legally dead. Although doctors said the babies had no hope for survival, the brain-dead woman was kept alive for 123 days before delivering a pair of healthy twins. You may remember when Bat Kid Miles Scott saved the city of San Francisco while battling leukemia in 2013. That same boy is now cancer-free. After a 2018 boating accident in Nigeria, a man named Blankson sacrificed his life to save 13 people. By the 14th trip, he was completely exhausted and ended up drowning, but he was the only fatality of the accident. Josephine Myrtle was born in 1868 with a rare genetic anomaly known as diphagus. Her body was completely normal down to the waist, but below it she had 2 pelvises and 4 legs. This is what toilets looked like in many medieval castles. There were a few cases of assassins climbing up these poop chutes and waiting for their targets to sit down before killing them. The death of Metallica singer James Hetfield's mom inspired him to write the song The God That Failed. She died when he was 16 due to Christian beliefs influencing her to reject cancer treatment. In 1999, a waitress was tipped a lottery ticket and won $10 million. She was then sued by her colleagues for their share. Afterwards, she was sued by the man who tipped her the ticket. Then she was kidnapped by her ex-husband and ended up shooting him in the chest. Lastly, she went to court against the IRS for more than a decade before finally winning. In 1825, painter Samuel Morse received a letter which read that his wife was sick. The next day, he received a new letter which read that she had died. 2 days later, he went to see his wife one last time only to discover she had already been buried. Distraught over the slowness of long-distance communication, he invented the Morse code. Tim Burton is often inspired by his childhood artwork, which is when he developed his unique style. Many of his characters are based on drawings he did as a child, including Edward Scissorhands and Frankenweenie. In October of 1994, the movies Jurassic Park, Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, and Forrest Gump were all in theaters at the same time. When he was 37 years old, legendary actor Jack Nicholson found out that his sister was actually his mother. Tom Hanks intentionally gained 50 pounds to film the first half of Castaway. He then took a year off to lose weight and grow out his hair before filming the second half. During the break, the director and most of the crew went on to film the movie What Lies Beneath. Yep, that's a pregnant baby. This extremely rare condition is known as fetus in fetu and happens when a baby's body absorbs the embryo of its twin. In 1935, a pregnant Alton Jordan fell 40 feet into a well and gave birth to a healthy baby boy named Frank. The infant remained underwater for 45 minutes without breathing until both were rescued. In 2016, a baby girl named Lindley was born twice. A Nigerian surgeon removed her from the womb to cut a tumor on her spine. He then put her back, and 12 weeks later, Lindley was born healthy. In 1939, 5-year-old Lena Medina became the youngest confirmed person to ever give birth. Her son was born by C-section and was raised as her brother. Medina is still alive today, but has never revealed the father nor the circumstances of her impregnation. This is a photo of Otto Warmbier begging for mercy while on trial for stealing a propaganda poster in North Korea. He returned to the US with irreversible brain damage and died 6 years later. This is the crevice where Aaron Ralston to free himself after being trapped by a massive boulder. He did it using nothing but a dull pocket knife, and the movie 127 Hours is based on his triumph. During a 1998 soccer match in the Republic of Congo, a lightning bolt struck one of the goal pitches. It killed all 11 members of the home team, who were all wearing metal spikes. The other team was left completely unscathed, for they had all been wearing rubber cleats. This incredible photo captures the moment an orangutan reached out to help a conservationist who was stuck in a river. It was taken in Malaysia when the man was searching for dangerous snakes in the area to protect the local apes. This extremely rare translucent lobster was caught in the state of Maine. The man who caught it said he threw it back into the ocean because it was too small. Experts say the chances of finding a lobster like this are about 1 in 100 million. Thousands have climbed Mount Everest and 12 men have visited the moon, but only 3 people have ever been to the deepest point in the ocean. While meerkats are adorable, they're also the most murderous species on the planet by far. They've been known to kill members of their own species more frequently than any other animal that's been studied. The Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 shook Japan with so much intensity that it caused the formation of a deadly phenomenon known as a fire tornado. Horrified witnesses could do nothing to save themselves since it got so hot that their shoes melted to the pavement. The fire soon ripped through the center of Tokyo, incinerating 40,000 people in about 3 minutes. The Burnden Park disaster was a human crush that occurred in 1946 at the Burnden Park football stadium in England. Overcrowding led to the deaths of 33 people and injuries to hundreds more. The dead bodies were then left covered on the sidelines, and the game was restarted about 30 minutes later. Afterwards, many players said they were sickened by the fact that the game was allowed to continue. If Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin got stuck on the moon, the official policy was to cut off communication and let them slowly suffocate in silence. President Nixon even had a speech prepared in case this happened. The speech read, quote, "Fate has ordained that the men who went to the moon to explore in peace will stay on the moon to rest in peace." Actor Bela Lugosi famously played Count Dracula in the 1931 film. As per his request, he was dressed in vampire clothing during his open casket funeral in 1956. Chad Vera was a priest who started the very hotline in 1953. He decided to start it after directing a funeral for a girl's life when she had her first period. She believed she had contracted an STD and had no one to talk to reassure her.